Welcome, and thank you for watching the Student Athlete Playbook segment of 100 Yards of Football. I am Barry Brown, joined today by my partner, Vincent, the Sports Encyclopedia, Mr. Football Turner. Yes, sir. And again, like we always do with this segment, the Student Athlete Playbook, we highlight some of the best student athletes in the country that play the sport of football. You ready to get started, Mr. Football?
We got 6 great players we're going to talk about today. Through your research and your voting,
Yes, sir.
you came up with 6 players that are a good group.
Excellent. Hey, let's not keep them waiting, man. Let's
Yes,
jump
sir.
right into it. Listen, right out of Loganville, Georgia, the national powerhouse, Grayson High School, Owen Popo. That's Owen Popo. Outside linebacker, actually rated the #1 outside linebacker in the country. He's committed to Auburn University, but Georgia, them Georgia Bulldogs are not giving up on him. So it's a heavy recruiting for this young man. And listen, he reminds a lot of people of a former Georgia Bulldog, Raquan Smith. And here's why. Looking at him on film, 7-on-7 participants, this young man can cover. So you're a linebacker that can go up, make the big plays in the run game, and also get back in coverage. That is a luxury. Hey, Owen Popo, listen, young man, very excited about your senior season and looking forward to seeing what you do at the next level in college. Mr. Football, what do you think about Mr. Popo?
I'm going to say one thing. Remember a couple of years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, Auburn had a player named Trey Blackman?
Yes, I do.
Out of LaGrange.
LaGrange, Georgia.
Had the neck brace.
I remember.
Can run sideline to sideline. Very explosive player. Can get out in coverage. But most of all was all over the field. This young man out of Grayson High School, Mr. Owen, is who he reminds me of a lot.
Wow, that's a great comparison right there. Let's move on. Not far away, a little bit closer to Metro Atlanta than Grayson is, Mr. Chris Hinton out of Norcross, Georgia. Greater Atlanta Christian School. You're talking about a strong side defensive end, 6'4", 280 pounds. They say he's committed to the University of Michigan, the Big Blue. As one of the top defensive ends in the country, Chris Hinton uses his size, his agility to make plays. I'm talking about this young man gets to the ball. And when I was watching the film, Mr. Football, this is the one thing I loved about him. This young man never stops chasing the ball. He was making tackles away from him as well as making plays when they were running toward his side. A big man with a motor, I like that a lot. Listen, Chris Hinton, Great Atlanta Christian School.
You don't have to really be surprised because you got to look at his bloodlines.
Yes, sir.
His daddy, Chris, first-round pick, I believe, in the 83 draft with the Indianapolis Colts.
That's
and
right.
He played 10 years with the Dirty Birds.
He sure
the
did.
Atlanta Falcons. And I think he was a pretty good football player, wasn't he?
He was a great football player for the Atlanta Falcons.
So why should we be surprised? The young man's got tremendous ability. Like you said, a guy that keeps going play after play, never slows down. And I'm not surprised because his father, Chris Hinton Sr., was a very good football player on the professional level.
Outstanding. Good luck to you this senior season, Chris. Now, we're going to go over to the Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans area. Listen, Cardell Thomas, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He goes to the Southern University Lab School. This is the top guard in the country, Mr. Football. He's committed to LSU. When this young man is looked at on film, and you don't usually say this for big men a lot, but his athletic ability jumps out at you. You talking about let me listen to this size, 6'3", 356 pounds. This guy can flat out move people out the way, create holes for his running backs, and make great things happen for the offense in general. Hey, watching him on film, his strength and power is evident, Mr. Football. Cardell Thomas, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
What more can you say about, like, you look at the program at LSU, and they keep producing talent. That's why I said early on our pregame show at LSU in Miami that LSU, all they needed was a quarterback. Their offensive linemen, defensive backs, LSU is pumping them out there. When you look at this young man, Mr. Thomas, all you got to do is go down and look what LSU has done real well over the years. You heard of Trey Thomas. He got a lot of money with Carolina, right?
That's right.
He's a pretty good football player, right?
That's right.
The gentleman that's starting at right guard for the Dallas Cowboys, La'el Collins, is a pretty good player that's going to get paid, right?
That's right.
They said Mr. Thomas is just as talented as those two gentlemen right there. And I think those two guys are real good NFL players.
They really are. Yeah, look for Mr. Thomas to get on the field right away when he arrives on campus for LSU. Now, Jeremiah Payton. We're going to go down to the Sunshine State. Neptune Beach, Florida. Duncan U. Fletcher High School. Mr. Payton is 6 feet, 186 pounds, committed to the University of Miami. The U, baby. On film, watching him in 7-on-7 competitions, this young man made tough catch in traffic, Mr. Football. Tough catch after tough catch. I was amazed because you don't see a lot of these young receivers anymore trying to go across the middle, but he ran the curl routes. He ran the in route, and he made all the catches with hands in his face, hands reaching for the ball. Hey, I was very impressed by this young man, and he is actually the highest ranked recruit that Miami has right now committed to them. So look for him to get on the field down in Miami and work for playing time early after this senior season. And let me tell you how this senior season for him got started last week. First game of the season, this young man had 15 catches.
Don't tell me he did damage.
15 catches for 98 yards in a 28-7 victory.
Don't tell me he did damage.
Yes, he did. And now he jumped on the other side of the ball and actually played safety and actually caused the fumble in his first game of the season. So you're talking about 15 catches, jumped on the defensive side of the ball, and caused the fumble as a safety. Hey, Miami, y'all have a commitment from an outstanding athlete, outstanding young man, in Jeremiah Payton.
When you talk about this young man, and I did some research on him too.
Yes, sir.
And you know, it's a lot of Miami Hurricane fans here in this area.
It sure is.
So I talked to a couple of Hurricane fans that's been following the program for, let's say, about 30 years, 35 years.
Yes, sir.
And I asked them about this young man, Mr. Payton. They say that he's a combination as far as catching the ball, being physical, in the mode of the playmaker, Michael Irvin.
Ooh, that's a great comparison. Yes, sir.
His route running skills are similar to Reggie Wayne.
Woo!
Another great cane.
Yes.
But they said that he's going to get bigger, he's going to be stronger. Don't be surprised he developed into another Andre Johnson.
Oh, my goodness. Well, he can go wrong. He cannot go wrong being compared to any of those guys, and he ends up being a combination. We're looking at something very special for his college career down there at the U. By far. Now, we're going to go out to the West Coast. Antioch, California. Pittsburgh High School. We're talking about Jacob Bandes. Jacob Bandes. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, Jacob. Listen, you're talking about a defensive tackle, 6'3", 306 pounds, and guess what he's committed to, Mr. Football? The University of Washington.
Committed to the Huskies.
To the Huskies. So let me just put it like this.
And
the Huskies. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you giving the Huskies some
love.
love.
Yeah, I'm giving the Huskies some love. Guess what?
Guess
what? Those Huskies, they added another great one to the pack.
But you did pick Auburn to beat them this weekend.
I did. But it's all good. Hey, Jacob, outstanding student athlete. Hey, we're going to give Jacob some love and the University of Washington
we have
some
fun.
love. You know we share love out here.
We have fun on this segment. We had an earlier segment. He just took Auburn over Washington. Man, look like he get Washington love. But that's how we have fun here on 100 Yards of Football.
Thank you, Mr. Football. I want to give love on this side. I want to give love on this side. East Coast, West Coast, North, South, baby. Student Athlete Playbook, 100 Yards of Football. We show love all around the world, actually. Now, let me finish up with Jacob right quick, Mr. Bandes. Listen, looking at the film, this young man is explosive, Mr. Football. All the film I watched, he made sure he reestablished the line of scrimmage when he was coming off the ball. And if you have a defensive lineman that can do that, hey, brother, from that tackle position, that's very, very important. So, hey, Mr. Jacob, it looks like he might be another Vita Vea going up there to Washington.
A lot of people, from my understanding on my researching this young man, he's from Antioch, California, which is in the Oakland area.
Yes, sir.
They say to remind him a lot of another guy that committed to Washington that won a national championship. Remember DeMarco Farr that played D-tackle for the Rams?
I do.
When they was in St. Louis?
Yes,
so
sir.
He's got the same type of pedigree and skills level set as Mr. DeMarco Farr.
Woo. I like that. You went back
and he played in Washington.
Yes, sir. I love that one. That's why we call him Mr. Football, ladies and gentlemen. Now, our last student athlete that played the sport of football here on the Student Athlete Playbook segment, we're going to go over there to Minneapolis. Prayers, shout out to Prince, the whole Power Generation, hey, Paisley Park, Purple Rain. Listen, we're talking about Minnesota, Minneapolis. We're talking about a young man by the name of Quinn Carroll. Now look at his size. Look at his size. 6'6", 295 pounds, and he's been starting since he was a freshman at Dena Senior High School. Listen, he is the top-ranked football player coming out of state of Minnesota, and he's committed to Notre Dame. I'm looking for this young man to battle for playing time as soon as he steps on campus, man. And he has a pedigree. When you start talking about pedigrees, his dad played at the University of Minnesota and also played for the Minnesota Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then his brother, his older brother, Colin, played for the Virginia Tech Hokies. So you're talking about a football pedigree, and you're talking about a young man that uses his technique, his size, and leverage to make a lot of plays from the offensive tackle position. And hey, bottom line is this: he knows how to move people out the way.
Well, like I say, you look at Notre Dame. Last year they had 2 linemen to go in the first round. Quentin Nelson at the guard position. Mike Malingsley that went to San Francisco from the tackle position. You know one thing, he's going to get better coached up in Notre Dame, and he's going to probably, as we look at it, probably the next 4 or 5 years, he's going to be a surefire first-round pick. Then you look at the overall history of Notre Dame, what they've been doing. Zach Martin.
Right.
Rodney Stanley.
That's right.
Mr. Like I say, Quentin Nelson.
That's right.
And what I heard about the young man, just word on the street, talk to some people here in the Atlanta metro area that seen him play in high school in Minneapolis. He's very mean.
Yes.
Very mean.
Yes.
I mean mean like pit bull type.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, Mr. Carroll, let me tell you something. Watching you on film, young man, I love what you're doing. You got to be nasty up there on the front line. So we wish you a lot of luck at Notre Dame, and I know they're waiting for you because you are outstanding talent. Now, all these young men, all these football players we've chosen for this week's Student Athlete Playbook segment, they're outstanding people on and off the field. They're leaders at their schools, and that's what we talk about when we start talking about the Student Athlete Playbook. Academics, character, and, of course, athletic talent. Hey, you all. Thank you for watching the Student Athlete Playbook with the 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk, and we'll see you next week. I'm Barry Brown. This is Mr. Football Vincent Turner. We'll see you next time.